Hello everyone, and good evening. Welcome back to another session of the Mackmyra Inn. I'm Richard McKeon, one of the inn landlords and brand ambassadors for Mackmyra. Joining me, as always, is my fellow landlord back into his lounge lord mode, Micky Plummer. Hello, Mick.
Evening, guys. Evening, Rich. How we doing? Evening, everybody out there, and welcome back to the Boozer.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's sitting at home feeling as comfortable as you seem to be, and yeah, nice comfy position somewhere. Our special VIP patron for the evening is Andy, getting back into the relaxation mode himself. Andy Duckworth of Maltbox Whisky. Hello, Andy. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me, guys. It's a privilege. Thank you very much. How are you?
Oh, the privilege is all ours. It's good to have somebody in the pub that can keep a bit of chat, I think. So thanks for coming. Yeah.
Rich, are you trying to say our previous VIP patrons before couldn't?
No, not at all, but I do see why it may have sounded like that. I'm just excited for every single person that comes and can keep it up as well.
That's it. You're going to get pelters now.
We've got a few things we're going to talk about during this session, and lots of digression, I imagine, as always. We've got Carl, as ever, in the background that will help us keep on track. But we'll find out a little bit about Andy for anyone who may not know who Andy is. I think a lot of people in the whiskey community, especially the online side where everyone really is now, will have heard of you in some way, I'm sure. We'll find out a little bit about what Andy's got going on, what he's got coming up, a bit of work with the Somerton Festival, things like that as well. Some exciting things on the horizon for him. And we've got a few updates as well. We've got a few things to tease, a particular bottling that Micky might have a teaser for later on. But what have we got in the way of shows and events coming up?
Shows next Friday. Obviously, we're back with the pub and our good friend Jamie Morrison, the global brand ambassador for the Glen Turret. Still deciding on the guests of the week after. The 10th of February will be our Valentine's show. So packs for that Valentine's show are on sale now, guys, from www.mackmyra.co.uk. It's our four core, which is the Mac, the Brooks, the Svensk Ek, and the Svensk Glück, along with our Moment Prestige. Normally, on our tastings and stuff like that, we normally chuck in a seasonal, the topical seasonal, but for this occasion, for all the lovely people out there that enjoy a champagne, shall we say, we chucked in our Moment Prestige, exactly, Andy. So that was wholly matured in casks. First, second, and third fill of Premier and Grand Cru grapes. Anybody knows anything about champagne, that the majority of Grand Cru and Premier Cru wine goes on to become champagne. Obviously, it's not we say champagne casks, but obviously we know champagne doesn't become champagne till it's in the bottle. But the wine from those casks that goes later on to be champagne.
Posh wine.
I think the first question should be, Rich, was Andy, what's your cat's name?
That was Winston.
Winston,
so,
brilliant.
Winston, yeah. So I've got Winston and Luna. I'm sure she'll turn up at some point because they always have this photo bombing spider sense. Whenever I hit the record button on any of the videos that I record, it's just inevitable that I end up looking like Long John Silver with a cat instead of a parrot over my shoulder. So it's fine. He's part of the furniture. Oh, well, sometimes I am.
You're the furniture, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he just does his thing. Just chilling out. He's currently trying to get into my sample drawer, which is a little bit worried. But let him crack on, live his best life.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned your sample drawer there. Sorry, Rich. You mentioned the sample drawer.
I was going to say on the. Okay, we'll get back to that.
That must be.
Yeah,
that
that's
must be
about
1805 somewhere. Roughly 1805 there, guys. So yeah, let us all know what you're having to drink. So it's mine and Rich's round. What are you having, Rich? What have you got this evening, sir?
I'm going with a green tea with a grunter tea. We had to do didn't have to do it at all. It was a pleasure and a privilege, but we did one of our monthly call range tastings last week, I think it was, with Vim Perry French of No Nonsense Whisky, and we had the grunter tea as our seasonal, and I haven't touched it like almost all winter, and it's given me the taste for it again. So I thought I'd start off with that. Micky, as ever, you've gone for something long and fancy, haven't you?
Well, not so long. I've gone for a Mackmyra take, basically, on a sort of an old-fashioned, I suppose, really. I've taken a double apple blonde, mixed in 10 ml of banana liqueur, pinch of sea salt, and a dash of Angostura bitters for a bonita apple blonde.
Very nice. And
Nice.
Andy, what are you starting off with?
I'm going to start off with a Hazelburn 10 tonight.
Very nice indeed, sir.
I've not had a bottle of, I've not had a bottle of it for donkey's years, and I managed to pick one up a couple of weeks back, and I've missed it so much. It's such a nice little dram, really is.
It took me a little while, I think, to sort of get into Hazelburn, or at least to allow it into my life, because it was it's the unpeated, release from the Springbank distillery from J.A. Mitchell. And I like a bit of peat. I enjoy a bit of peat and a bit of smoke. So I thought, right, well, there's two others I can choose from there. I'll go for them. But then as soon as I actually, tried one properly and sat there and got to enjoy it, a full dram of it, I've been not hooked on it since, but very much, I want to return to it again and again. Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for triple distilled Scotch.
Yeah, not much.
No, there is. No, there's not really, is there? And I think you've got the big guy in Auchentoshan, haven't you? And then obviously Springbank, and Springbank do things completely differently, don't they? To a lot of the industry, very hands-on and really small family-led operation, which is really nice. And it's amazing that a distillery that kind of size can just produce so many different styles of whiskey, and there's not a bad one.
No,
they're all fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely love Springbank.
Up my street. Before we dive into finding a little bit more about you, Andy, and letting everyone know a bit more about yourself, Mick, you mentioned apple bloom a moment ago in your cocktail. We've got something happening at 7 o'clock with apple bloom on the .co.uk website. What's cracking?
So, guys, as you know, apple bloom was our spring-summer seasonal from 2019. God, we're on 2021 now. So so nearly 2 years on the market, and we're very, very nearly out of it. Our last remaining bottles go on sale at mackmyra.co.uk at 7 o'clock. So just as we're coming to a close with this evening's show, dive on over to mackmyra.co.uk and snag yourself one of the very last bottles. That's all we've got anyway in Mackmyra. That includes, I believe, Germany and Sweden as well. And so the last few bottles, and when I say few, I mean I'm talking, I don't know bang on exact numbers, but it's very, very few.
It's the last few cases,
very much last few cases, and there might be a couple spread around out in the wild. But I've not seen any for sale from our customer shops in a long while either. So if you're a big fan of apple bloom, or you just fancy trying a Calvados finished whiskey, because there's not many of them knocking about either. Yeah, exactly. Right, then get yourselves over to mackmyra.co.uk at 19 o'clock.
Yeah. Nice. So have you had the apple bloom, Andy? This is probably a good time to talk about your channel, because I think that's what you're best known for, probably in whiskey circles. So I know you've reviewed a few of our things, but have you had apple bloom on there?
I've not, to be honest. I mean, I've tried quite a few Mackmyras. Big fan, just saying. Apple bloom's not one that I've tried. I've recently had a look at the God, I can never pronounce it. Yatlica. Yep. Yes, get it. It did take me about 8. It took me about 8 sort of tries to do it right on the actual video.
That was hilarious.
I'll just
leave it.
It was very
funny when you were doing it.
And obviously, sort of like your Spence Rock, which I'm a massive fan of. I've got a bottle up there. Brooks Whisky. Is it? Oh, I can't remember the orange label.
Spence Yek.
That's the one. And that's it. And obviously, I have a fair few bottles of this as well, which is a single cask for a group of whiskey nut jobs called the Whisky Circus, and it's fantastic stuff. Yeah, there you are. So it's not just you, Rich. It's not just you, mate.
So basically, there's about only 3 of you that own all like 47 bottles or whatever. Then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got 3 of them, to be fair. So I've got 3 of them all there. So no, that's a lovely drum. But no, it's really interesting that the apple blooms in Calvados casks. That's really, really unusual, isn't it? I mean, particularly,
Not,
you won't be able to do that in
just,
Scotland, let's put it
not
that way.
just any old Calvados casks though, Andy, but Christian Duan Calvados casks. And obviously Christian Duan, for people that are into Calvados out there, know roughly what we do at Mackmyra as well, know that Christian Duan are pretty much top of the game, the top of the shop when it comes to Calvados. You know, they actually their first bottles that they released were 40 years in the making before they 20 years. So my apologies, not bad. 20 years in the making before they actually went to market with their Calvados. A few of those years were research and development on their best, like their woods and stuff like that. But yeah, most of it was for the age for maturation.
Nice. I'll send a sample to you, Andy. So when Angela was putting this one together and speaking to Christian Duran about it, it's one of the normally when we're trying things before releasing and we've got a new type of cask coming in, you know, we'll have we'll season something, or we'll use a cask, we'll put some whiskey in it for 3 months or 6 months, just so that Angela can get a sense of how it might work and whether or not it needs, how much time it might need. She does it in a short amount of time, but like a test cask. With this, she was so convinced that it was just going to work, perfectly straight away, that we didn't bother doing the test. It just was immediately, all of our whiskey went into all the casks that we got, and it was left there to mature and to rest in those casks, and then bottled up.
Nice.
Obviously, she's at the business end of it, making sure that it's all the casks are blended together and the right quantities are mixed in with others and things, of course, as well. But there was no test and then we'll buy all these casks, the rest of them off you. It was just send us the whole container now and that's it.
Nice.
But back to your channel, because I think we should talk about you and your bits. Should we say?
Steady on.
Rich, I was going to
I'm only one drinking.
You're dropping a few bombs tonight, son.
No, but I don't. These are all on purpose. These are all been carefully rehearsed and written down.
I've not even finished my first drink. Do you know what I mean? How very dare you?
So so your channel, you do whiskey reviews on there, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the whiskey world. Yeah,
sure. So I set up the Maltbox video channel, YouTube channel in 2015. However, I've been drinking whiskey since I was in my teens. That was my first proper drink. I was on a budget, like a really tight budget, like 10 quid a week or something like that. And I used to buy Sainsbury's Basics blended Scotch because it was 40%, whereas gin and vodka were 37.5, rum was 30. I was like, no, I'll stick to the whiskey. And I got a taste for it. A few years later, I basically started to explore a little bit more. I got a trip to Edinburgh for my 21st birthday, and I bought a bottle of Monkey Shoulder from all my whiskies because they recommended it for beginners, basically. It's a lovely drop, I had another look at it a couple of months ago, and it's quite charming. And basically just from there, I just loved it. Exploded, set up the Manchester Whiskey Club in 2012, which was great. I ran that for a few years, and like I said, Maltbox 2015. Recently I've basically just been plugging away doing that. Obviously turning up to the whiskey circus as well, which is always a privilege and a pleasure. I've worked, definitely. I've worked a couple of festivals before now behind this, on the other side of the stand for Ardbeg and Ben Romer and people like that, which has been really, really cool. Really enjoyed that. And really, it's such a fantastic community to be in. It really is. And I think it's been difficult this year. Obviously, everything's migrated online. But ultimately, I think that's kind of brought people closer together in a way. There's been people have gravitated towards each other in the whiskey community, which is just fantastic. The channel's been going for about 6 years now. And I have basically just been, I don't just stick to Scotch. I try and expand it because I love world whiskey. I love English whiskey, Swedish whiskey, American whiskies, you name it. See, on brand. It's been great. I think the reason I do it is the interaction again with the whiskey community, people commenting and things like that, asking me to review different things, and I've always enjoyed basically just analysing something. I just love sitting down there sometimes with some vinyl on, the lights are off, maybe one light on so I can, not fall over.
You can pour
Exactly.
your glass successfully, yeah.
That's it. And just sit there just with the drum and just enjoy the ride and seeing how it's changed and just analysing the different layers to it, and it just takes me to a happy place. So basically just doing that on camera, but with more lighting, obviously, is kind of ideal. So yeah, no, really enjoying it. Really am.
Yeah. I'll say cheers to that. A raise a glass.
Cheers, guys.
That journey, yeah.
It's quite an interesting when you got into whiskey, though, Andy. Do you know what I mean? When I was that age, when you got into whiskey, I hated whiskey. Do you know what I mean? Where I grew up down in Plymouth, it was like given to you Christmas, New Year, whatever. There you go, have it, and it's like banging a one, and you go get that burn, and it's like, oh my god, that's horrendous. No, that is not for me. Then I went obviously many years. Not too many, obviously, about 10, 12 years really, before I moved to Scotland and got into the whiskey really proper. But yeah, so that's quite an interesting. I even know Scottish people. This is probably going to sound really stereotypical. I don't mean it to. So for us Scottish fans, I am sorry if it's going to come across really bad. But even their first interactions with whiskey were very, very similar to mine, where it was given to them by an uncle or a dad at Hogney or whatever, and it was done as a shot, and then it was like instant bounce because of the burn, because it's got to be a minimum of 40% before to be a whiskey. Yep. So that's quite powerful in the world of stirrers at the end of the day. Obviously, there's big stuff out there that we know of and all that sort of that mental stuff, but yeah. But to take that first, to go into the supermarket on your limited student budget, I would take it from that.
No, I left school at I went to college, didn't go to uni, but I used to get this thing called EMA that the government at the time brought in, which basically was a little cash incentive to go and buy some like textbooks and stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, nice one. I'll get right on that.
So was that on your now what is now your Scotch habit essentially then?
Yeah, exactly. I personally, I blame. I can only blame the government, to be honest with you. It's their fault entirely. But yeah, because at the time I was in a band, a metal screaming kind of band, and we were doing tours everywhere and stuff. It was a really good time, but I always had to have a bottle of whiskey with me. It just got to the point where I don't want a plastic cup with warm flat Carling in it. I'd just rather sneak a bottle of as the smart price in. Thanks very much.
Did it start off in a big rock band? Sorry, Rich, you've been in a big rock band and that, then we'll do Motorhead and Scorpions then.
I know Motorhead and Scorpions, not personally, obviously. But yeah, no, I certainly know of them. Yeah, definitely.
And also, we worked with them to produce whiskey under their name as well. So
yeah, no, the Motorhead label is awesome, by the way. The label, honestly, the label looks sick.
So the band, in both cases, but talking about the Motorhead, the band themselves and Lemmy, while he was still with us, worked like they worked hand in hand. It wasn't just handed off to their their sort of like business management company or side of things. They had an enormous hand in the creation of it and its development as well. Working with Angela, meeting Angela as well. So very much an authentic Motorhead product.
Definitely. Not just the name, is it?
I'll pop one in the post here as well, Andy, with an apple bloom.
Nice. That sounds great, man.
Yeah,
fantastic. I'll have a look at it and get it on the channel. Sounds good, man.
Yeah, so your origin story, mine's more similar to Mick's. Much more when I was 18. That shot, whoever, I think I've said this before, maybe in the pub, but whoever's round it was, from my friends and I, they chose whatever shot we'd be doing, and every now and then some bloody joker would order a shot of whiskey for everyone, and everybody would be a collective groan across the bar, and then you knock it back and you just chase it down with something else, because I couldn't get into it at all. It wasn't until I was in my early probably mid 20s, I think, where my cousin introduced me to Lefroy 10 as well as a few others, and then I realised that whiskey didn't have to just taste like whiskey; it could have something else. So in at the deep end, I think, perhaps with the smoky whiskey and that, but from then I was into it gradually, at least.
Nice.
But
yeah, been a good one. Tamara. So I've noticed Tamara. Hello, Tamara. Thanks
very for classy, Tamara. As always, very classy. Glenn, a big favourite here.
Yeah, Tamara did start off with. She talked about a dram earlier. Lechig 12, I think, single cask. She mentioned that's it.
Fantastic distillery. Absolutely love the chick.
They're the whiskey that Mick and I talk about. Probably just a little bit less.
It probably comes in a close second, mate, to Mackmyra.
quite a close second. When we're in the pub, anyway. When we're at the end. But you're I don't know, self confessed distilled dream boy. You call yourself, and I think a bunch of other people on social.
I mean, I'd like to clarify. I did not come up with that hashtag. Distilled Dream Boys sounds like a terrible X Factor pop group, doesn't it? Really,
it's a little bit,
like the corporate guys upstairs have thought of a great idea. Right now, let's make a boy band. Let's not do that.
It sounds like a Facebook group to charity calendar sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like Make-A-Wish kind of thing.
We had Andy.
Please don't let me see it. Please don't let me see it.
We did crossover shows once every so often. We had Shilton and Craig from Paul John come to join us, Gary from Glen Scotia, and then we had Andy from Baines and Three Ships come to join us a few weeks ago. So we've got a lot of sort of distill, the South African side of it in particular, but distill a large bit. You're more of a Deanston man, though, if I'm not mistaken.
I am. Yeah, I am a big Deanston fan, and I was debating whether to go for the Hazelburn Start or the Deanston 18. It's a distillery I've visited, but there's just something about the spirit that just clicks with me. I just love the flavour profile and the viscosity of it. It's just lovely, and it's not peated, all right, but it's just a really nice drop, really well made. I love it.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think it's going to be well priced for an 18-year-old as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah. Great. Considering today's market.
20 minutes away from me.
Are they?
I've been there a few times.
Yeah, I can imagine. Just going to swing by on the way to Tesco.
Deanston being famous for Deanston being famous for their warehouse shots for the Angel Share.
The Angel Share film. That is a great film.
The warehouse shots on the distillery tour. They took in the Angel Share in the film. The Angel Share was filmed there. I think some Outlander, is that the program?
Yeah,
there was some filming done there as well for Outlander.
Is Outlander not too far back in time for a distillery?
Well, they jumped forward, but I've never actually watched the full series. I watched about 3 episodes of series 1. Okay. But that's what the tour guide told me a couple of times every time I've been there. So I can only go on that.
Well, I think it was probably filmed in the current time, Richard. What I mean? It was built in the 60s. So
okay. I thought it was all back. I've only ever seen episodes when people are swinging swords at one another. So I just.
I mean, that's Friday night in Glasgow. Don't worry about that.
Right, moving on from Friday night in Glasgow, back to Deanston. They've the upcoming Somerton Festival's got Deanston appearing there, and
they do.
And you may be appearing as well with that festival. What are you doing with them?
I may. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. So I was obviously involved last year. Dan was kind enough to invite me on last year with Bimber, which I really enjoyed. Massive fan of Bimber as well, which made it all that sweeter. And obviously they're doing it. He's doing it again this year in March. So really, honestly, setting up to be a great day. And I'm actually going to be doing some cocktail tutorials. Well, I don't want to call them tutorials because I don't like telling people what to do. It's just this is what I make and this is what I do. This is what I drink, kind of thing. Basically, just with some pretty standard cocktails, I guess, but maybe with a couple of twists or something maybe a little bit challenging, but ideally with stuff that you can find around the house. And this isn't me saying that I'm just going to stick a shot of Deanston in a can of beans or something. It's not going to be like that. Although I'm not above that. I just like to point out I'm not above that.
Student life.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I'm going to try that.
I mean,
I'm going to give it a go.
Do it. It's like the old Alan Partridge cup of beans. You got your sausage, you got your beans, you got your Deanston in there. Get it in. Get it done.
I've got a bottle of Deanston Madeira cask on the shelf down there somewhere. So
nice.
that in the beans and sausages. I'm a big fan of the beans and sausages.
Yeah.
I'm like I can go that. I can go that.
Yeah. If you really want to mix it up, get some toast on. Let's do it.
If you do want a genuine tip for your beans, I put a spoonful of Marmite in my beans the other day. and warmed it up, and it was absolutely banging. Yeah.
Rich, does this sound like a conversation for a genuine tip for beans? I'm being serious.
Well, no, but if you've got them, you might as well share it, right? Sharing best practice. We're all in it.
In case you've just tuned in, welcome to Bean Tips, population 3.
Everyone's tuning in thinking, I'm going to learn some stuff about whiskey and a bit of whiskey chat. No, we're strictly to the beans and the beans.
Marmite in the beans. You'll stop laughing when you try it. I bet you.
No, I don't like Marmite. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Big fan of Marmite.
So cocktails at the Somerton Festival. No, I assume you'll be hanging around for the rest of it as well, and enjoying some drams as the day goes on. Yeah,
of course I will. Yeah, definitely. Really looking forward to it. It's lined up to be a great day. Some really great brands on there, and a lot of English distilleries represented as well, which is always a good thing to see. Yeah,
but we had Matt Mackay came to join us at the inn. He was our VIP patron a number of weeks ago, and we had a great time with him there. Oh, Phil.
You see, this is where me and Phil are going to fall out here, because I'm more of a Branston man.
Heinz 57-year-old. I think Phil's been in a bunker somewhere, just eating tin food year after year.
Oh, one of the big catering ones.
Yeah,
and then some 5 litres of beans. Thank you very kindly.
It's all about Branston, man. It's got to be Branston.
Branston beans? Oh no,
Branston beans. If you don't,
Branston's are good for pickles, mate. Not for your beans.
No, don't give me that. Don't give me that.
No for your beans.
Is Branston beans a northern thing, like Yorkshire tea? It's the only thing up there that you'll drink, or?
Sorry, mate. Say that again. I was just getting distracted by my wife, Aaron, who said that I should call that cocktail a Beanston.
Oh,
yes, you should.
That gets a thumbs up from me. Like,
honestly,
that gets a thumbs up from me.
I don't know what to do with that one. Honestly, I'm using that.
Do it. Yeah, do it on the day as well.
I'm sure Dan will be over the moon about me just getting a tin of beans. So it's like, what is going on here?
Mate, see, to be fair, as long as it's done in like good humour, like we're doing now, then Dan with it, not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Stick an umbrella in it and whatever. Be fine.
Well, we could. I mean, we created green tea casks. They didn't exist before we wanted to make our whiskey, so maybe we could do a baked bean cask whiskey at some point in the future. Perhaps a seasonal release a few years from now. Watch his space, and we'll see. I'll let Micky suggest it to Sweden, and then I'll take a back seat for, as you know, unusually for me. Take a back seat on that one, Rich, and I'll let you push forward that one, brother. No,
you try that, mate. I'm sure it'll go down really well. We've actually got a couple of things to tease. This is a thing about casks now. We've got one thing where we can't say a great deal about it at the moment, but we've got rum casks bubbling, possibly somewhere on the horizon at
sometime soon.
Somewhere, and they'll be situated in a very interesting and a very appealing place, I think, to people. A very unique thing. But we've got another thing to tease, Mick, that I might just hand over to you. We've got there's a bottling in the mix. Something coming.
If you keep going, you just steal all my lines anyway. So that's
fine. No, but I'm easing you in, mate. What have you got?
So, guys, keep your eyes peeled. Sometime before the end of February, there will be an independent bottler who's quite new to the independent bottling scene as well, hitting the streets with a 12-year-old American oak, wholly matured in American oak, 200-litre casks, bottling of Mackmyra. It's a very, very funky label. It's beautiful. I've tried a sample of it when I did the consultation with the guys, and yeah, you're in for a treat. So keep your eyes peeled. As the weeks progress before it, hopefully we can let a bit more information go as we go. But at the moment, keep your eyes peeled. A nice little independent bottler from Aberdeenshire, who have done a few gins and a few botanical spirits before. I'm going to be releasing a Mackmyra. I believe it's only going to be the third company in the UK to release a single cask of Mackmyra.
I think that sounds about right to me. I think that sounds.
We've had what? Cadenheads and Chilterns.
Chiltern Whisky. Cadenheads have had 2 Chiltern Whisky, but then there's been a number of sort of bars and places like Milroy's that have had some 30-litre casks.
Yeah.
And smaller scale.
But that's been the 30-litre cask stuff.
Yeah.
No one else has done the 200-litre casks for of that age. So obviously, as you guys know, smaller casks generally younger years. So what we're up to about anywhere between about 6 and 8 years on some of the releases. Some are down as low as 5 on the 30-litre cask stuff. But up at the 200-litre cask, yes, there's not much. There's not much like 12-year-old Mackmyra knocking about in the world, let alone just in the UK. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see. I think for a lot of people, who have tried, like as Andy showed the Whisky Circus one there. That's a 7-year-old 30-litre cask. But it'd be interesting for people to see what a longer maturation can do for a single cask of ours as well. So, I think
nice.
I've just seen a comment from John Burkbeck is asking if someone's a Bruichladdich fan, and I imagine he's looking at your bottom shelf.
I'm looking over your left shoulder there.
Yeah, it's one of my other distillery soft spots. I have quite a few of them, 100 and something, I think. Actually, come to think of it, it's just I think there's not one distillery that I've not had a good whiskey from. Do you know what I mean? I love all of them in some way, but Bruichladdich, again, it's a bit like Springbank. I mean, they've got the Bruichladdich spirit. You've then got Port Charlotte. You've got the Octomore. It's just such a dynamic place, and they've had a really, really sort of, they were one of the pioneers of the whole sort of like provenance movement at the time, and transparency, which not many people were doing 10 years ago.
They've just been given a big grant by the government as well. Well, quite a few Scottish, but they're one of the forerunners on a green energy grant, basically.
Well, so Jim McEwen of once of Bruichladdich, obviously now Ardnahoe. Jim McEwen was Angela D'Orazio's mentor. I don't know if we've ever discussed that, Andy. If that's something.
Oh, really?
No way. He was her mentor for a number of years. Yeah.
So I think when Jim was the president of the panel for the IWSC, so the International Whisky and Spirits category, she was on the panel, and Jim, when Jim was the president, he got her on in.
No way.
But so you see, we obviously there was a long period of time. I suppose they are still doing it now, but a lot of creative things were coming out of Bruichladdich, and that's some of that influence. Angela, I think she's a very creative person anyway. Naturally,
absolutely
experiment and do things. But his, I don't know, tutelage or at least whatever knowledge he could impart upon her and influence, she's taken and run with it with us. So I think he's one of the biggest, bestest people in whiskey, I think. So
exactly. It doesn't get much bigger than Jim McEwen, does it? Really? I mean, even Andy that we spoke about earlier.
Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that.
Sorry, Jim.
Don't tell him that. All right.
I mean, even Andy Watts that we talked about earlier. He obviously worked under Jim as well when he was at Bowmore, I think. I mean, it's just amazing how many people's lives he kind of had an impact on and what they've gone on to do. It's really cool.
Well, when you're in the industry for that long, you're going to meet a lot of people in that, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? And when you're as infectious of a personality as Jim is, and I mean that in a good way, by the way, you're going to influence quite a lot of people, aren't you?
So one thing, he's quite famous, I think, for climbing up on chairs during tastings and things like that, which is something that we can't do because then everyone will find out, that we're not wearing any trousers, for example. At least in my case, who knows? But something that we can't quite do in the virtual world. So you can't follow his lead there.
So I've been in the presence of the Highland Toast with Jim a couple of times. Right. The very first time was at the premiere of the Water of Life film that's just been released for Burns. So I was there just over a year ago in Glasgow. They had a premiere screening. Met some fantastic people like Jack Milroy. So you know about Milroy's earlier, Rich? So the actual founder of Milroy's, Jack Milroy, obviously, and his late past brother. Got to meet him. That was just like an absolute dream come true. Me and my good friend Neil, we spent the rest of the evening after the film drinking in a bar opposite the cinema with Jack Milroy and his nephew. Was an amazing night. That's for another story anyway. But at the screening, Jim did the Highland Toast, and it's very theatrical and it's amazing. See, if you only see it on video, you sort of get some of the feeling. But see, to actually be there and feel it, it's amazing. And then the second time I got to see it and feel it in person was in Nuremberg, believe it or not, the beginning of last year, just before lockdown really come in. It was touch and go whether we were actually going to make it back from Nuremberg in time before everything dubbed up, really. And there at the Nuremberg Whisky Festival, which, if you can get across there, guys, it's an amazing festival. Amazing festival. In Nuremberg is beautiful as well. Lots of history, good and bad, but mainly, and it's just lovely. Great people, great festival. If you can get across, please do. And obviously, I teamed up with it was just as I started working for Mackmyra as well. And I got to touch base with our Mackmyra Germany pals as well. So that was quite good.
Very good.
Nice.
Yeah. I've never met any of them in 3D. I've only ever spoken to our international colleagues, in this sort of fashion, this way. Talking about toasts, not a bad segue to say. I think I said to Andy before, you've had a change in your your everyday life today. I said that we'd raise a glass and toast you for it. Just top up my. What's happened today and what's happening with you?
Cheers, mate. Thanks for mentioning that. I start a new job in a week's time, so it was my last day at my current company today, which is, I've been there 4 years, met a lot of great people and, good mates and stuff. So, yeah, it was emotion. It was emotion. I think that's what the kids say, innit?
I don't think it is.
It might have been in 2007, but, I don't know.
Well, I said we'll raise a glass. So, cheers to a new career, a new venture for you, new path. So, yeah.
Thanks very much, mate. Appreciate it. Let's go.
Let's go, indeed. I did notice back in the comments from Andrew asking about the moon. I assume that question is relating to the interesting maturation location that I was talking about with Cast before. Let us know if there's anything different, Andrew, or if you were trying to comment on something else. But I think that's what you meant. Oh, and Phil, hello again, Phil. Welcome back. The chalk and bottom of the 12-year. Yeah, so that's the Dragon bottle. 12-year bourbon barrel. So yeah, the Dragon bottle here. I bought this my second ever shift for Mackmyra. Was at Milroy's. We were doing a tasting. I was sitting in the background watching Shane, our boss, do it. And the green tea actually was secretly and privately launched that day. Probably the worst time to say it with Patrick joining us, but we handed out a few samples of it then, a day or two ahead, in secret, of course. And it got voted, of the 6 whiskies everyone had, the green tea was voted the favourite almost immediately. But I bought this just to sort of mark the occasion, because I've been drinking in Milroy's for some time. I went to school with Simo, so I've known him since I was 10 or 11. So being working for a whiskey company that I'd wanted to do for so long, and then going to Milroy's after drinking there for so long, I had to buy something special. So I got a glass of that behind the bar. I've decided I loved it, and I got one. And I think my anniversary is coming up in February, my Mackmyra anniversary. I may open it for that. I've been waiting for a special occasion to do it. So we'll see. But
nice.
Just to hear that Phil's tried it and enjoyed it as well.
I feel like a Mackmyra UK conference should happen for that then, Rich, and we should all gather, as long as we're allowed to by that time, obviously.
Yeah, well, let's see. I'm happy.
You're on sending out samples duty.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Nice, lovely label as well on that bottle. I know the Charlton bottlings are all very, very pretty. It's not too far from me. It's only, I'm about 15 miles north of Manchester, and he's probably about 5 the other way. So it's it's not too far. He's probably my most local independent bottler.
They've had some excellent releases. I've got their 10-year-old Lecce up on a different shelf behind me over there. That
it's not like you to have a whiskey from Tobermory, is it? It's
But yeah, I love their labels. I love the design of things. That's very much agree with you. The one that Mickey teased earlier, there's definitely a good one coming out with that.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, Andy, just a quick one. What did you do?
Job-wise, I work in the corporate insurance industry. which is basically like big businesses and factories and big contracting, things like that, distilleries and stuff, that kind of thing. So I'll be doing the same stuff, but just at a different company that's setting up a new team, basically, that I'm sort of like joining, and it's going to be a lot more responsibility, I think, in terms of getting it from the ground up. But
nice.
Yeah, it's going to be as exciting as insurance gets. Let's put it that way. So it's I genuinely, I'm if you show me a factory or a car plant or something, I will tell you how to insure it. My mum asked me how to insure her Ford Fiesta. Not a clue.
Not a clue.
So
well, the good news for your new company, your new job, then, mate, is we're seeing distilleries.
Absolutely.
Coming up.
Absolutely.
In the next couple of years, all the time. Do you know what I mean? So that should definitely keep you in business until your retirement, my friend.
Hopefully keep me in whiskey as well. More importantly.
Well, that's obviously, I didn't want to go down that that route. I was trying to keep it semi-professional at least.
What about gravity distilleries? What's different with insuring a gravity distillery compared to a more conventional one? Anything significant?
God. Yeah. Oh, blimey.
Well, you said you could do it. So I thought
about on the spot, mate, or what?
I'm going to put him to the
for this question.
Jeez. I'll go and get my tie on. I'll go and get my tie and my blazer on. I hope my new employers aren't watching, because I feel like this is the technical test all over again. I can't imagine there's too much difference, to be honest. I think the only thing with Mackmyra in particular, and with a lot of ones in Scotland, is the remoteness of it all. Because I mean, just to get to something is just an absolute nightmare.
So I think what Rich was referring to there is obviously there's going to be a brand new distillery in the Port of Leith called the Port of Leith Distillery.
That's where I was leading. Yeah,
their position got changed to basically a very small plot. And on the waterside in Leith and Edinburgh,
of course,
it's got a lot of history stuff like that. So they couldn't go horizontal, so they went vertical.
Mm-hmm. I think you'll see more and more of that in.
There's not a lot of them kicking about.
Not at all. Not at all.
In the years to come, I expect you'll see more appearing. We've set the scene with ours, and then Port of Leith coming in. But you can build. Yeah, well, we have. So yeah,
absolutely. You well within your right to say it.
And guys, just that wasn't a dandruff shake over. That's a. Do you know what I mean? So tip off your.
Yeah, that's me trying to be down with the kids again. You know what I mean? Obviously, if you can't tell from this cool, calm, collected exterior, I'm pretty hip.
But yeah, building a distillery in an urban area in cities and things where you don't have much space. I know Micky and I have said the same thing before, but. For that reason, as well as just sustainability and that sort of thing, it's I think it makes sense. In the decades to come, we'll see more of them. Well, I hope that we do anyway. Hope that it's not just us. It's not just about us being the only ones. We just help to pave the way. Fingers crossed.
Well, from an insurance point of view, from a drinker's point of view, for all three of us, we want as much choice as we possibly can get. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah, and the more out there that are thriving, then the better for all of us, quite frankly, and the better for themselves, I believe.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's really exciting. Even the last sort of 5 years, just the amount of distilleries that have popped up and they're going great guns. It's really, really great to see. Really great, and so hopefully that continues.
With that in mind, Andy, right? A bit of an on-the-spot question again, obviously.
Sure.
But what's been your favourite distillery in the last? You said 5 years. Because obviously we're out of that question because we're 21 years old now. We're big boys.
Oh, that's it.
So what's been your favourite distillery in the last 5 years? Because obviously, I'll expand that to say that they've got a whiskey in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Or they've been built within the last 5 years. So not just from building to laying down, because obviously, if they're laying down 5 years ago, they've only had a whiskey for 2 years. So whoever's had a whiskey for the last 5 years.
Wow. So one that's released a whiskey 5 years ago, or just within?
Released a whiskey in the last 5 years.
In the last 5 years, all right. Okay. It's probably going to be Bimber. To be honest,
As you probably know, me and Richard both got quite the. I'm a founders member. I'm a founders club member at Bimber. Richard's a club member at Bimber, I believe.
Yeah, they're a bit. My Bimbers are sort because they're so tall. They're top shelf. My top shelf is either it's whiskey that's either too good or too tall to be anywhere else. So but they go. I think they fall into both of those categories. I would say.
Mine's only because it's too tall on the top shelf.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? That mine are on the top shelf as well. Funnily enough, just out of shot, just where my finger is.
I've got honestly, it's them bloody bottles.
It's like, oh god! And I didn't put these shelves in either. The previous people did, and they're built into the wall. So if it don't fit, it don't fit.
Yeah.
So the Bimber on the top. But I was blown away with Richard. The first release, I was the first public release, I was blown away. And the ex-bourbon, I'm a big ex-bourbon fan. I prefer ex-bourbon over ex-sherry because I like the core distillate characters to shine through. And they've got a great distillate. The actual base distillate is fantastic. And
their peated new make spirit is unbelievable.
New make's lovely as well. You can drink that easily.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
There's a distillery that doesn't have a whiskey out yet. That I think is a bit further south than where you are, but White Peak is something that I'm really excited about. Seeing what they're doing already, I think is delicious. The 1 year, the 2 year old, the 2.5 year old that I've tried have been like just brilliant, really, really excellent.
Yeah.
And so what they're going to have out, when they get to 5-10 years, whatever they, wherever they release something, I'm excited to see what they're going to do as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, English whiskey as a whole is so exciting. It's so exciting.
It's a crazy good market at the moment for English whiskey.
You've done quite a lot of work actually. I think, or here and there at least, right? Because I know that Roy had you on talking about on Aquavita's channel, talking about English whiskey some months ago, and I know that you've worked a little bit with, quite a lot, I think, with Richard Foster of the English Whiskey Society, which is now called
Exploring English Whiskey.
What sort of things have you done with these guys, and what are you excited about?
Well, I think the entire industry itself is enough reason for me to just be absolutely buzzing about it. To be frank, I think what I did with Richard was me and Boutique Dave did the quiz for the English Whiskey Festival, which was fantastic, and it was the first ever dedicated English whiskey festival.
Yes,
and that's just how quickly things have come on in the last 5 years. If you said to someone 10 years ago, we're having a dram of English whiskey, they'd probably be like, you have a word with yourself. And secondly, they'd be like, we're having a festival about it. Right, he's definitely on drugs. So the fact that 5 years later we've got such a wide variety of distilleries, we're up to something like 25 now that distill whiskey and have got casks rested. And it's not just in one area of the country. I mean, annoyingly, as a Lancastrian, there's none here. There's loads in Yorkshire, but as a Lancastrian, there's none here, which I might have to remedy one day if I can get enough cash together, which is probably not going to happen unless,
to be fair, right?
Unless I rob a bank.
I mean, there is your business case right there. Do you know what I mean? All you got to do is go to any council in Lancashire and go, them over the way of doing it, and then just chuck money at it.
This is it. It'll be game over with. We can open 10. How many have Yorkshire got? 9, 12.
So see what we can do, right? I'm a massive rugby league fan. So what we can do, right, is bring back the War of the Roses, right, and then as a precursor to War of the Roses rugby, we can have War of the Roses whiskey bottles.
Nice.
Bottles is the wrong word. Whiskey tastings.
Yeah.
Let's hang around and put a plan together afterwards. But I think there's plenty around your neck of it. So the Spirit of Yorkshire, Filey Bay, they're one that I'd like to see talked about more, quite frankly, because I think everything that I've tried from them. Another one you mentioned, the STR. Richard, the Bimber one. There's a Filey Bay STR, which was I thought was absolutely superb.
So, Rich, be careful. There's a difference in language you're using there between STR.
Yeah, no, I realised that. I realised that as I was riffing, but nonetheless, that a brilliant dram from them.
Absolutely fantastic.
Like you saying, the diversity of English whiskey at the moment. We go as far south as Dartmoor.
Yep. Two in Dartmoor.
Yeah, and that's my neck of the woods. 2 in Dartmoor.
Yeah, there's 2. There's the Dartmoor distillery.
Yep.
And there's the Dartmoor Whisky distillery. So one of them is basically it's not yet broken ground, I don't think. But basically, you've got the original, the OG Dartmoor.
Yeah.
That's on sort of like
and that's the one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's the one that's out there, and they've got a new one.
Ground level with them, so I'm just having my. Yeah. I thought I was going to be able to get home to go and collect my bottles, but obviously this year it's just been like, no man, you're not traveling anywhere. All right, cool. So I've just arranged for them to be delivered. No, Phil, no. St. Helens can get tea.
No.
I'm a Hull FC fan. I'm black and white all the way.
Andrew's comment. He thought Andrew thought you were trying to bring back a centuries old reanimate skeletons and have them come running at each other.
Yeah. We're not doing anything else, are we? To be fair, so just
when the law allows it gets us out of the house and exercising. Why not?
Exactly.
A full body workout, I imagine it would be the charging.
Of course.
Tomorrow's
wash your hands.
Yeah, you'd have to. But yeah, tomorrow's coming there about Wolfburn. Wolfburn's another excellent one that's only had whiskey out a small number of years now. I think it fits well into the parameters that Mickey set there. Another one that came out with the Somerton Club. Just sort of circle back to them. The Langskip, I think it was the Somerton. Langskip. Morven, yeah. I think I've got a miniature somewhere of that. Yeah, I embarrassed all my friends and I embarrassed ourselves at the Wolfburn Distillery a couple of years ago when we had our ferry was cancelled to Orkney because we were going to Scapa, Highland Park and spend a bit of time on the islands. And because the wind was too bad, it was too choppy for even those sort of hardy ferries that they have. So we went to Wolfburn thinking, oh well, we were going to do this in a few days, but we'll come and do it now. We saw a coach load of people who one or two of them were still sort of walking through the door. We followed them in. It was so windy and blustery. So we walked in and there was a tour about to start or in the throes of speaking to everyone. And we just thought, oh, we might be able just to sort of sneak into this and tag onto the back. Let's see what happens. We'll talk to them afterwards. But yeah, we'll just stay here for a bit and in the warm. But my friend just left the door open and the wind slammed it shut. And I don't know if you've seen Wolfburn, but it's basically there's sort of big like metal sheds and things that they have their distillery set up in. So the reverberation that went around the entire room with just this door slamming, everyone turned around, looked at us, looking very sheepish, and then immediately found out that we weren't part of the crew, so had to leave. And it's one of the most embarrassing times I've ever had in a distillery.
The fact they were all speaking fluent German as well. They're just cracking on in German, and you're there with your soft, dulcet southern tones. Yeah,
my soft, very well spoken. Nice accent.
I didn't mean soft in a sort of like north-south divide way. I just mean very softly spoken, very, very, very nice and gentlemanly. You know what I mean?
That's me in a nutshell, I'd say. I think that's where we end it. Perfect, Nick. That is, yeah. That's it. So what that bell means, Andy, I don't know if Mick warned you before, but I think I'll hand over to him now. I don't know how rattled you might be.
So, guys, as we know, that bell is for last orders, and we always end last orders on probably what we're trying to make a very regular thing. Well, we've done it since episode 3 of the Inn, and that's Andy. What is your whiskey moment? So, what I mean by that, so your ideal whiskey scenario. Where are you? What's in your glass? Who are you with, if anybody?
The last bit's going to be really difficult because my wife is just in earshot at the top of the basement stairs. So, obviously, that's going to be with my darling, beloved wife. Wow.
So, what's
your second favourite then?
What's your ideal whiskey scenario? Not your ideal romantic night away or anything like that. Your ideal whiskey scenario.
The tie-in, it's basically just keeping in a sleeping bag on Deanston's still floor. You know what I mean? It's so difficult. I've had so many good drams in so many different places, and I think Do you know what? Right, okay. I think probably for me, my ultimate would probably be sat on the cliff path. Bear with me, between a little Cornish village called Cadgworth. Yep, southwest, and the Lizards. And there's this lovely sort of stretch of cliff where it's just there's nothing else for miles until basically you just hit America, and it's just you can smell the salt air and the sea is just an amazing colour of blue. I would be sat on there, happily swinging from pretty much anything. To be frank, it could be a shoe, could be a glass, could be a Glencairn, I don't know. And
in all fairness, I didn't ask for vessel.
No,
exactly.
But I mean, it has a bearing on it, perhaps.
You've got your hands on to have your nectar.
I suppose when you think about it, you've got quite a broad spectrum there, haven't you? You could be anywhere from a shoe to a particular nosing glass. I mean, it's quite a lot in between.
To a yard glass.
Away from the bottle.
Yard, yeah, let's do it. Let's yard of whiskey. I probably won't be around for much longer after that, but let's give it a go. And in terms of what whiskey that would be, I think probably a decent 12-year-old, because it's a whiskey that I just find incredibly comforting.
Yep.
It's just got so many flavors that remind me of, it's got like a lot of honey. It's got a lot of baking sort of like flavors in there as well, and notes. And my mum baked when I was a little kid, and well, she still does. She's not just stopped because I left home. You know what I mean? She's like, right, I'll sit at the kitchen, ate out the window.
Left home. No more cakes.
He's gone.
No more
baking.
No nothing.
Yeah, and Aaron's a big baker as well, and it kind of reminds me of that, and it gives me this, the nice warm fuzzies. So that'll be it for me. And I think in terms of who I'll be with, it'd be my wife.
Yeah.
Which would be great. So yeah, that would probably be mine, to be honest.
That sounds good.
That's awesome. It is always a difficult question. Me and Rich talk about this every single week, right? And I'm pretty confident that every time we ask the question, we run through it in our own minds as well. And I'm pretty sure our own situation, depending on the time,
absolutely,
changes a little bit here and there as well. Do you know what I mean? So it is one of those, desert island drams to rip off another podcast stroke YouTube thing or whatever.
Radio show.
Yeah, or radio show, exactly. And it is one of the things, we can ask you that question in 2 weeks' time. And you know what? It just might change.
No, his wife would still be there. They'd be in a different place.
Of course. And I think,
if she sees that last outtake, will she?
Well, no, but then he'd want her back, wouldn't he? But before going down there, I did see at one point in the corner, I pointed, but I think he or she left just too quickly. I'm sure I saw a little ginger cat. I see a ginger cat there.
That I don't know where she's gone now. She's a little ninja. That would be Luna. That would be the other one.
Okay.
So we've got 2 cats and 1 dog.
And you've got Sky, haven't you? Because we've got a picture of Sky.
That's my girl.
Awesome, by the way.
That's my girl. Yeah. I did try and get her to sit still, but she's never done that in her life. So
I was going to say that wasn't stage at all. I thought, because that's where you keep your whiskey. Sometimes you just sort of pour it from there.
Slap bang in the middle of the kitchen floor. Just juggling hot plates and hot pans and stuff. Just watching the mirror. There you
go. Problem is with my 2 dogs, if I put a bottle of whiskey down on the floor in front of them both, one of them would try and hump it, and the other one would try and just eat it. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
It does not make for great photography for this time of the evening,
Well, we usually have
maybe not pre-9 p.m.
We've usually got one of Mick's dogs like snoring in the background. We've done a number of tastings and live shows like this, and you can just
Chip normally shows that. So he's a Frenchie, but he's like a miniature Frenchie, as it were. He was born premature, so he's quite small, but all in proportion. But his breathing is horrendous. It really, honestly, is really bad. So you can hear him, honestly. So these days, I have to actually kick him out of the room. But normally on a work course and stuff like that, he's in the front room, sleeping or carrying on, whatever. But you just hear this horrendous snoring. So
you can hear him before you see him.
We've got quick. Yeah. Chip's coming. You can go, Chip's coming. You look around. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, no bother.
Nice. Well, on that note, it's probably not a bad time to start sort of winding things down. Mick, you mind giving us a recap of what we've got coming up over the next few days?
Sure. So next Friday, we're back at the Inn with our good friend Jamie Morrison from Glen Turret. He's the Global Brand Ambassador. On the 10th, we have our Valentine's show. And then we're back on the next Friday after that with another Mackmyra Inn. We've got lots of stuff planned for the next couple of months, guys. We've got a new launch coming sometime in March. That's from us. We have, obviously, well, not us, but a company we've worked with bringing out a single cask bottling of Mackmyra 12-year-old before the end of February as well. So guys, keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll say as much as we can when we can about that. So it's quite a busy first quarter for us, and I hope you carry on joining us, guys.
Yeah, totally. And Andy, you've got a new website that I think you've just launched as well.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, and what can they find on it?
Well, thanks, mate. So I recently set up maltboxwhisky.com to work alongside the YouTube channel, because I mean, at the end of the day, it gives a bit more flexibility. Like, I can do some opinion pieces on there and some recipes and cocktails and stuff that you can't always do on video. And it's just another sort of avenue of reaching out to people as well. So yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it, enjoying the written aspects as well. And would you look at that? Nice.
So yeah, that's Paul for you, mate. He's on the button. Is our call?
That's it. That's it. So that's Maltbox Whisky. I can't even say it now. Maltboxwhisky.com. So yeah, no, it's really enjoying it.
Can people come here for tips on their beans at some point? Would you think you'll add it in?
I can do if you want. Yeah, I might just start an entire new blog for it. Beanbox. To be honest, just get that done. We can look at supermarket brands. We can look at Heinz. We can look at the King that is Branston. So that's already going to get top of the pops. To be fair, maybe the occasional mixing, cocktail with the beans and sausage. So yeah, absolutely, let's do it.
Yeah, cool, nice. Yeah, well, go and check out. I'll say to everyone, and check out Andy's YouTube channel as well, Maltbox Whisky. Some excellent reviews in there. The one that you did of yak liquor, when you did eventually manage to pronounce it, tickled me greatly. I think you said something about Sweden, the home of Ibrahimovic, ABBA, and most importantly, Ulrika Johnson.
Shooting stars. Shooting stars.
It really tickled me. Yeah. I was just about to mention the apple bloom. And get Micky to talk about that again. But I think Andrew has been on the ball ahead of us and said someone's gone and they bought them all out. So
we ran 3 minutes over. We've run 3 minutes over and it's out of stock.
We're so sorry for anyone that was waiting for us to go so that they could go and then look at the website as well. Yeah.
Sorry.
For anyone, if it's out of stock, for anyone who has missed it, I can say that the Little Whisky Shop, a big supporter of ours and great people that work there as well, Mark and Jenny and the team. But yeah, the Little Whisky Shop, they definitely stock it. But have a look at your local store to see if they do as well. I'm only mentioning one because it's off the top of my head, but there will be a handful around that still do it. So look at your favourite and see whether or not you can find it. But yeah, Andrew, thanks for the tip. All gone from us. The shame, nice dram that. I think that means Micky and I won't be
getting any more. Was that Andrew Smith that said that?
Yes.
An interesting link to what I mentioned earlier.
Interesting. Well, there's a nice little tidbit and a teaser for people. But that's probably it then. I think we don't need to rush to go now, but we might as well because we've started the.
Well, it's anticlimactic now, mate, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So we might as well just pack up and bugger off, huh?
Yeah. Let's do it. So, Andy, mate, thank you so much for coming to join us and for your time. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, guys. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's
been really good.
I wish you the absolute best for. I hope you have a good week off next week, as much of a rest you might be able to get, and the best of luck, with the new job, the new company as well. I really mean it. So,
cheers,
Mick, my fellow lounge lord for the evening, thanks again. And yeah, everybody watching, thank you very much for joining. Thank you everyone who's been able to comment and be part of it and make this an interactive in something close to a pub. Tamara especially, thank you as well for coming back again, and everyone else who's joined us week after week. We really appreciate having you guys with us. So yeah, that's enough from me. Let's go. We'll head off and get our supper, if that's what you call it in the north, Andy, and we'll see you all again sometime soon. Skull.